What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. And today, Andrew and I are back with another word association. Some of you love these episodes. Some of you don't know how to have fun. We'll lump everybody into one of those two categories. But if you're new to the show, please make sure you go to whistlekickmartialartsradio.com and check out everything we do, every episode we've ever done, transcripts, show notes, videos, audio, because we do this show in audio and video. Sometimes you want one, sometimes you want the other, right? I feel like there's a Almond Joy Mounds commercial going on here. That is an older reference. If you are, under 30, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But it made Andrew laugh, and sometimes that's the goal. Now, one of the reasons we're able to continue bringing you this show and the other great things that we do at Whistlekick is because we have companies that we work with. Martialytics is the newest brand that we've started working with. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, the best thing to do, whistlekickmartialartsradio.com, go to the partners page up at the top and check out Martialytics. Now, what is Martialytics? Martialytics is the easiest to use, feature rich, low cost school management software that we were able to find. And this is an important distinction because we found them. Personally, I found them. This was a need I had in my school. It was time, and we went hunting, and I will skip the long story, but we ended up with Martialytics. They give you a 30-day trial. If you come to them from us, they double it. They give you a 60-day trial. 2 months to figure out this is the right move for you, do it. Go check it out. And if you have questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me, Jeremy at whistlekick.com. But Andrew, it's time to start another word association
Yes,
episode. I appreciate that you do these.
it's
These
fun.
are fun.
Yeah, I enjoy them, and um, the listeners may remember in the initial we first started doing these. The first 10 or so were very much random words,
Yeah.
and then we started having fun and realizing that if we somehow put the words together in a group that somehow
Hmm.
relate, like we did a holiday edition, a winter themed edition, a summer edition, and they were all like words that were kind of connected. So
Yeah.
for this word association, I thought it would be fun to do word association injury edition because
You should tell everyone why you thought
so
to do that.
if they are regular listeners or watchers of the show, they will know because I've talked about it a bunch. I had ankle surgery a few weeks ago,
Mm.
and so I can't walk. I've been 3 weeks without walking. I still have another 3 weeks. They wanted me to do 6 weeks with 100% non weight bearing on my right foot. So I can't walk for 6 weeks. That means I also can't drive for 6 weeks. So I've been, for the most part, stuck at home, injured. And so I
Yeah.
thought, you know what? That could make for a really fun
Mm.
word association. So all of my words today are somehow not, might be a little a stretch, but they're somehow all related to being injured. And
Mm.
I thought that might be fun.
I think that's fun.
Yeah.
I think
So,
we should do it.
all right. Are you ready for your first one?
As long as none of the words are gross.
No.
So you know this about me. The audience doesn't necessarily know this about me. I have a weak stomach. I don't watch horror movies, the gory ones. If someone is bleeding profusely, I can manage if I'm the most qualified person to help you. And let's hope that you are not in a situation where I am the most qualified medical staff you have. But the moment somebody else shows up, I'm gonna be vomiting in the corner and apologize to some of you who are triggered by that word.
So, yes, none of these words I think will trigger anyone in that
Fantastic.
regard. So, the
No
first one,
grossness. All
yeah,
right, let's do it.
no grossness.
I'm
The
ready.
first one is crutches.
Crutches. I may regret saying this now for this word because I suspect we could say this about any of the words that are going to come up. And one of the things I love about traditional martial arts training is the adaptive aspect of it, right? We've had a variety of people on the show over the years who are in wheelchairs or have other physical conditions. I don't want to call them limitations. That's on them to use that word if they choose to.
Mhm.
But physical conditions that are atypical, they can still train. And one of the things that I love about martial arts is that that person in the wheelchair, the person on crutches, could be there in line with everyone else. Whereas if you have an adaptive basketball player, they're not, they're most likely not playing with non-adaptive people. And there's an inherent inclusion in what we do as traditional martial artists that I just love. And so when I think of something like crutches, crutches allow someone to move. I imagine at some point, Andrew, you're going to be using crutches to get around.
I'm probably not, but I'm a
Oh,
specific
oh,
case.
okay.
Yep.
Um, but a lot of people who had foot surgery might,
Hmm.
right? And crutches are just a way of adapting where we are physically to accomplish certain things. And that philosophy is very much baked into our martial arts training, our martial arts attitude. And I think that's great because how many people this just happened over the weekend. I was at a tournament and somebody mentioned that they had hurt their leg and they weren't training because they had hurt their leg. And this was someone who hadn't been training a terribly long period of time. And I was having conversation with someone that knew them, and I forget how we got here, but I didn't know this person. And they were mentioning, oh, I can't because of this. And I said, there are people in wheelchairs who train, and it instantly diffused their reason for not training,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? And I suspect that person was using it as an excuse, and I think that's great, right? Because there are plenty of other, oh, Andrew, you can't drive because you can't apply pressure to your right foot. You could sit in your chair, and I suspect you have, and do forms, do
Hmm.
basics. Maybe it's just your hands. And
Yep.
am I correct in saying that you have done some of that
Absolutely. Yep.
as much out of boredom as any other reason, right? And I love that.
Yep. Now, crutches are definitely different from cane. So
Hmm.
how would you correlate cane? How would you associate that word with martial arts?
Cane is in Cane.
Correct.
Okay. So a cane is a really interesting tool because it is both an amazing weapon and one of the last things you want to carry. It's an amazing weapon because, at least in the United States, the Americans with Disabilities Act says you have to be able to bring it everywhere. You can bring it on a plane or a train
Hmm.
or any of the other modes of transport that Dr. Seuss rhymes with. They can't take it away from you. It is incredibly effective. And Mark Shuey, who was on the show many, many years ago, the Cane Master, uh, and others have put together quite a bit of material on how to use a cane as a martial arts implement. But here's the problem with a cane. People don't generally carry canes unless they have a strong need for it, so it positions you as a victim.
Hmm. Yep.
And I don't think there are any other weapons that do both. Any other weapon I can think of, whether it's a traditional weapon or a more modern weapon, is either effective and the others would perceive you as a greater threat and thus not attack you, let's say a
Hmm.
firearm or a big sword, right? Or it's non-effective. And I can't even come up with very many. I mean, we could call a wheelchair a weapon because I've seen plenty of people get really good at rolling over people's feet and using the chair as an
Yep.
implement. Not quite as effective an implement, and we know that because people are not going to choose to step into a wheelchair
Hmm.
to fight with it, but still positions you as a bit more of a victim.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Very
canes
true.
are interesting, and if you've never picked up a cane and just tried to adapt what you may know of martial arts with it, I would encourage you to because you can buy them incredibly cheaply, under $10. Doesn't
Yep.
have to be something that you make a lifelong pursuit. Though you could.
Yep. All right. Ice.
Ice. Okay. So everyone, if you have not, needs to go back to the Gary Reinl episode. And Andrew, maybe while I'm talking, you can pull up that episode number.
It's funny. I was actually doing that, and I actually sent
I'm
it to
not surprised.
someone. I actually
So
sent
here's
it
the short of it.
recently.
In that episode, Gary Reinl explains why, and he does a better job of it than I could in this short period of time. Explain why ice is not a good idea from the perspective of healing injuries because it doesn't. And if you don't like me saying that, go back and check out that episode. And then once you've watched or listened to the entire
309.
309, okay, fantastic episode. I believe to date, still the only person with no connection to martial arts to ever come on the show. And we did that because it was that important of a subject. Ice slows down the healing process. But what does ice do? It reduces inflammation. So, in the context of needing to continue to function, if you need to focus on function versus recovery, ice is a wonderful tool. And the example that I give is, if I was hiking and I sprained my ankle, I have to prioritize getting down the mountain, and that's where I might have an ice pack, so I can have some range of motion. Because if you've ever hiked with a sprained ankle, it really stinks, and if you can't put any pressure on it, it stinks even more, right? But then when I get down to the mountain and I get home and I put my foot up, kind of like what Andrew's doing, and I sit and I'm not applying ice to that.
Yep. For people watching on YouTube, you'll notice that I'm kind of like I'm not sitting up straight, and
Hmm.
it's because my leg is sitting out, being elevated, which is the next word, elevate.
Hmm. Um, when we know that techniques change dramatically when we change their height, their elevation. When we start to think of our movements in three dimensions, some really interesting things happen. Um, Most simply, the base concept behind a low block and a high block is the same as well as a hammer fist. What changes is the elevation, the targeting, the angle of attack. And it's something that in my school we spend a bit of time talking about. I might give my students, hey, all you can use right now as you slow spar is hammer fists. And they start to figure out, wait a second, I can cheat. This hammer fist is a high block. This hammer fist is a low block. What if I come at this angle with the hammer fist? It's kind of a outside block. Oh, what if I come with this angle? It's a um, outward middle block in some styles, right? It's a hammer fist. And the difference is the elevation, which changes the angle, it changes the purpose. And when we start to think about techniques with in that way, when we change the elevation, or there are other things you could change, the same technique really becomes a different technique. And in a lot of martial arts systems, we'll give that a different name. I don't do that in my school. Here are your root ingredients, and here's how you can apply them. But that elevation change is one of five core directional changes that we talk about: forward and back, lateral, diagonal, rotation, and elevation.
All right. Shower chair.
Okay, shower chair would make a terrible weapon out in the world. Although actually maybe it wouldn't, because if you're walking around with a shower chair, people would assume you were crazy. And I believe appearing um, mentally unstable is one of the best ways to deter becoming a victim. In fact, it's one of the things when I teach not advanced but more moderate level self-defense. It's one of the things that I will talk about because nobody wants to fight the crazy person because the public perception of that, there's no winning. But a shower chair is another adaptive tool in the same way that crutches are.
Mhm.
Crutches allow you to move around while injured. A shower chair allows you to get clean while injured. And as you know, Andrew, you and I talk almost every day, and as we talk, one of the things that I find interesting is that there are many, many things that you have are less convenient for you to do in your life,
Hmm.
but very few things that you simply cannot do,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You can't drive. That's the main one,
Yeah.
right? We were talking yesterday that you changed up your drum set, your drum kit, so
Hmm.
you could use your left foot instead of your right foot. And you had the proprioception to be able to do that. That's awesome. And so when I think about a shower chair, my first my first instinct is it's really cool that that exists. And then the second thought is, of course it does. Because if we think about these aspects of life, there's always a way. I mean, if we really needed you to drive, there are self-driving cars, right? We're
Hmm.
not quite there as a culture and society on implementing that, but it's not like it's that far off. It's closer than it isn't,
Yeah, that's true.
right? If you lived in a one-story home, you'd have no problem getting to everywhere in your house.
Hmm.
And so there's a martial arts mindset. Somebody somewhere said, you know, I need people who can't stand up to be able to take a shower on their own. Oh, let's give them a chair. Let's give them a really narrow seat.
Hmm.
Doesn't have a back. It's made of plastic and stainless steel, I'm guessing,
It's aluminum,
aluminum.
and they some of them. So the one that I have, just because I'm sure the
Yeah,
audience really wants to know,
they really want to know.
um, actually part of the sits in the shower and part of it sits out of the shower, and it's very wide. So you sit
Oh,
in it outside of the shower, and then you can slide yourself into the shower,
brilliant.
into
That
the
makes so
bathtub.
much sense. Yeah.
Um, and it does have a back so that you can
Oh,
back. Yeah,
so you can chill out? Maybe
yep,
I should get one.
just hanging out. It's got one armrest on one side.
Does it have a cup holder?
No cup holder, no.
Should add a cup
But
holder.
it's all plastic and
Yeah,
aluminum with rubber feet.
that's great. Right. And so, of the 10,000 things that you are frustrated or bored or concerned about through this recovery process, not being a smelly ogre isn't one of them.
Which my wife appreciates.
And I'm sure you appreciate because nobody, right? Like 6 weeks, you wouldn't like the way you smelled.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, next word: compression sock.
Hmm. So when I think about compression socks, my first place I go is diabetes. My father had to wear compression socks. Obviously, he was alive. He doesn't wear them anymore. Well, I don't know. Anyway, that just took a turn. Apologies, everyone. Um, again, it comes from that approach of how can we, right? Um, but I don't want to go there. What else do I want to say about compression socks? Compression socks and compression in general doesn't just have to be for diabetics. There are some recovery benefits to compression.
I'm wearing
I
one right
don't know. Hmm?
now. I'm wearing one right now.
Oh, are you?
Yep.
Interesting. Well, when I'm done, I want to hear more about that. So I don't know that I agree with, and, and and I'm not saying I disagree. I don't know that I agree with compression during exercise. You know, that tight compression. I understand keeping things tight and not moving around, whether that's, because of anyway. Um, but I know from a recovery perspective, it can be really valuable. When I was at really invested in CrossFit, I had a basically footy pajamas without the feet that Under Armour made, and the whole concept was for recovery, and it was like three sizes too small and very, very stretchy.
Hmm.
And you would zip yourself up at this and go to bed in it, and it would help in recovery. Now, how much did it help? I don't know. I didn't have any wearables back then to tell, but compression is interesting. And just think about it in terms of massage, right?
Yep.
There's an element of compression to that.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
tell me about your
So
compression.
my the surgery I had was on my ankle, and so my
Hmm.
foot and toes are very and ankle are very swollen
Hmm.
after the surgery, and they recommend and gave me a compression sock to start And why is it swollen? It's because there's a lot of fluids building up down there, which is one of the reasons why we elevate,
Hmm.
um, to get those fluids out. And by having the compression sock and gently massaging from the toes up through, it helps to push and flush out some of
Yeah.
the fluids that are building up in the foot.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
and that actually, that's similar to what I see as the rare but good use cases of ice or other anti-inflammatories, NSAIDs or something, where things are so swollen that blood's not moving, right? If blood starts pooling because it's that swollen,
Yep.
then you're not getting that movement, which is a precursor to the healing. And if you can, reduce the swelling a little bit, you can get some stuff moving. I get headaches periodically where that's the general effect
Mm,
is that I have to take a couple Tylenol to reduce the inflammation enough that things can move and then they clear themselves out.
yeah. Okay. Now, next word. Compression sock holds it in tight, but then I also have a boot, a medical boot, not a winter boot.
Hmm. What's it made out of? Plastic?
Plastic. Yep, hard plastic with
Hmm.
Velcro strappies. If I wasn't laying down, I could get it. But
And the premise of this is that you can wear it as you're out and about, and if you bump your foot on something, you don't writhe on the floor in pain.
yep.
Okay. All right. So it's protective. It's protective gear.
Hmm.
Whistlekick was founded on building protective gear. And as an aside, as of right now, if you are watching or listening to this episode shortly after release, you would probably be surprised to know we don't currently have any in stock. We're retooling that side of our business, but hopefully soon you will have some available. Uh, Within martial arts, we are generally concerned with safety, and we look for ways to practice our skills in ways that are safe. That boot is a way for Andrew to practice life and keep his foot safe, his ankle safe,
Hmm.
in the same way that hopefully you're not having brand new students on day one spar at full tilt or, having people knife fight with live blades or any of the other examples of ridiculousness we could come up with because safety has to be first. And if safety is not first, then learning can occur, and that's a whole other subject we could get into. One of the things that I do in my school is I look for how do we take whatever it is we're doing and make it more safe so we can escalate some other aspect of it. For example, if I increase the safety of sparring for my students by making them slow down even more, I can allow them to try different things that might be less safe, right? At even a moderate pace, I don't want people practicing uh, joint locks. But if they're moving really slowly, they can, and the culture is right, they can practice these. And I think we often think of safety as a bar, and we're either above or below it, and it is the same bar regardless of the drill or the exercise. And I instead see it as a variable that I can modulate to get a desired effect. If I reduce the safety a little bit, that applies pressure to my students or the perception of safety, right?
Hmm.
So just as we change speed and strength and safety with the various drills, and I suspect most of you out there do this at least some of the time, it can change the result of the training experience for the students.
Okay, last word.
Okay.
Pillow.
Pillow.
Hmm.
Hmm. You ever sleep without a pillow? It's miserable.
I have.
It's not fun.
Ever use your jacket for a pillow? Also
Of
miserable.
course. I mean, no, never. Name a situation where that would have ever happened. Nobody's ever done that. We don't do that. None of you out there have done that when you were maybe younger. Um, but if I keep with the theme of these others, right? What's a pillow doing? It's making a bad situation a little bit better, right? You probably have your leg up on a pillow on something.
Yep.
Yeah. And what would it be like without that pillow? It'd be worse. Pillow is a simple concept. It is just something soft and somewhat contained. I don't know if we have a direct correlation. Do we have anything? It just makes things more comfortable. And I think if I had to shoehorn that concept into traditional training, it's the culture. The culture of a competition or training makes things more comfortable. If you like the people you're training with, them accidentally punching you in the face is a little less miserable. If you like the people you're competing with, them besting you in competition is easier to swallow. So, pillow is culture.
All right, there you go. That's my list of words.
Alrighty. Good words. Thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Check out whistlekick.com for all the things that we do, the products we make, the events that we host, the other content that we create, because it's not just martial arts radio. And if you have a martial arts school and you haven't checked out Martialytics yet, please do go to whistlekickmartialartsradio.com, check out the partners section at the top, and you won't regret it. Reach out to them. Tell them we sent you. They'll give you 60 days to try it out. And it's a great product. It is rock solid. The support is fantastic. And we're here to support you in that if you would like. We don't, yes, there's a financial arrangement here, but we don't own the company or partially own it or anything. Yeah, um, they're helping us, so we're helping them because that's how that works. I think that's all we have to say today, right, Andrew?
How about our
Oh,
new
sign
email
up for
list?
the email list.
Yeah,
Yeah. Also at whistlekickmartialartsradio.com, you can sign up for the newsletter. It is a special martial arts radio exclusive newsletter. We're going to remind you on the days that episodes come out. And as we continue to build that list, we are going to continue to add bloopers and behind the scenes and other bonus content that you will not find anywhere else but the emails. So make sure you sign up for that list. You're not going to get the other emails that we do at Whistlekick. We've segmented everything. So make sure you check that out. Now I think that's it. All right.
sounds good.
Hey, everybody, appreciate you spending some time with us. And until the next episode, train hard,
Smile.
smile, and have a great
Great
day.
day.